Hello and welcome. Welcome back to this series. This video is coming to you a little late than usual. Last week's academic duties kept me a little away from making a new YouTube video, but I hope all of you would have used this time to cover embryology and anatomy that we had discussed in the last week's video. And as such, embryology and anatomy taken together are sufficiently big areas, and if you are doing it really well, it is going to take almost 10 to 12 days. But that is not the reason. The reason was my existing academic duties towards evolution, which kept me away. Some of you have been asking me to get into paper 2, and very soon we will be getting into paper 2, part of the syllabus. But what I'm trying to do here is to sequentially cover the sections of botany syllabus. So in today's video, we are going to discuss angiosperm systematics. And after doing angiosperm systematics, there will be just two small areas of paper 1 left, which I will be doing together in just one video, and that will be plant resource development and morphogenesis. Then we will be in paper 2. Paper 2 has got less number of areas but bigger areas. If you look at the syllabus of paper 2 of botany, you have got cell biology, genetics, plant breeding, biotech. So genetics, plant breeding and biotech can be treated as one unit. Then you have got plant biochemistry and physiology. And lastly, you have got ecology and environment, including plant geography. So if you look at it, there are just 4 major units. And I am also trying my best that we complete this series of entire botany section, topic and probable question discussion before this year's prelim. And all of you who are aligning your preparation with this series of video, you should also be having a complete roadmap from the very first topic of the syllabus in paper 1 till the last topic of syllabus of in paper 2. So that is what I really want. So you will be having, and if we go at this pace, we will be comfortably finishing our entire syllabus before the end of September, that is before the civil service prelim. On a side note, the UPSC has also released the examination calendar of 2021, and very soon I am going to create and upload a video on what should be a beginner's preparation strategy for the civil service examination 2021. Having said this, I think I should not take any further time, and let's come back to angiosperm systematics. Angiosperm systematics is an important part of paper 1, and for those students who are not from botany background, some of you might find it very fearsome area also. My suggestion to all of you who find it fearsome or who find it very daunting is that please do not worry about this area. There is a certain way to cover angiospermic families. I'm going to discuss what should you be focusing upon. You do not need to read any taxonomy book end to end. In every family, there are specific things which are going to be asked. And in the end, I'm going to suggest some very basic resources with which you can prepare this area very well. Later, after completing this series, I'm going to create some videos on how to study, how to revise. And in that how to study, how to revise, I'm also going to cover how to study and revise the angiospermic systematics, or for that matter, any such area of botany syllabus which students are likely to forget more often than other areas. So I'm going to do that also. But that part, revision part, how to memorize, etc., will come after we have completed this syllabus analysis part. So as I was saying, that it is a very important part, and questions from angiosperm systematics, they come in section B of paper 1, but UPSC gives a very sizable weightage to this area. And given the weightage of this area, you should not be thinking of skipping this part. So let's start with today's discussion. So when you talk of angiosperm systematics, there are essentially 2 parts of the syllabus. The first part is systematics itself, and the second part is the study of individual angiospermic families. When you come to systematics part, it deals with the theoretical aspects of taxonomy and arriving at phylogenetic relation. Systematics is a bigger word than taxonomy. Taxonomy is just a part of systematics, but systematics also includes an exercise to establish logical phylogenetic relation among the taxa that you have studied through taxonomy. The second part of the syllabus is the study of 20 angiospermic families. The syllabus of the angiospermic families is fairly clearly laid out. All the 20 families are clearly mentioned, number one. Number two thing is that within the families also you will notice that there are certain specific aspects only which are getting asked. We will get into that. So let's see how the syllabus is laid out. And here what I have done, I have also included, UPSC does not give you all these topics in the syllabus, but I have also included certain hidden topics. Hidden topics are those on which questions have been asked, but those topics are not explicitly mentioned in the syllabus. So I call them hidden topics. So there are certain hidden topics also which I have mentioned here. And if you see here, in total you have to do 18 topics here. Each topic you can do as a short note in approximately 200 words. There are certain topics from where a subtopic level question has also been asked that I will be guiding you in the discussion. So the topics of proper systematics are as follows. Basics of taxonomy. Here you will need to understand terms, what is systematics, what is taxonomy, what are the stages of taxonomy, what are the major types of taxonomy. Here you will be learning the difference between alpha taxonomy, beta taxonomy, omega taxonomy, natural classification, artificial classification, phylogenetic classification, so on. After this, taxonomic hierarchy. That means you start from the level of domain, come to kingdom. Within the kingdom, you can come to phyla. Within the phyla, you will come to classes. Then you will come to the order, family, genus, species. And because you are going to touch species, you will also be doing a species concept of Ernst Mayr. And within the species, you need to understand the terms like subspecies, races, etc. rather clearly. This is a clearly mentioned topic. Basics of taxonomy is not mentioned in the syllabus. The third topic here is International Code of Botanical Nomenclature, but it is not just the international code on which the questions have been asked. The questions have also been asked on the type approach of botanical nomenclature, and as a matter of fact, it is one of the most repeated questions, the type approach of botanical nomenclature. Next, certain aspects of modern taxonomy, numerical taxonomy. So how do we create operational taxonomic units? How do we record the character data set? And then how do we analyze that? Numerical taxonomy is not a new exercise, but with the passage of time, the numerical taxonomy has been boosted by the facility of computation, and numerical taxonomy has grown as a field significantly. In numerical taxonomy, questions have been asked either directly or on operational taxonomic unit or O2U concept. Apart from that, you have to do chemotaxonomy. Then there are 3 lines of botanical studies from where evidences help in taxonomic studies. That is anatomy, embryology, and palynology. Palynology can be treated as a subset of embryology. There is no two way about it. But these are the 3 lines of evidences which have to be studied standalone for their relevance in taxonomy. Besides, you have to study origin and evolution of angiosperm. It is not a topic which has very frequently been asked, nonetheless has been asked. 10th topic is comparative account of various systems of classification. Comparative account I have mentioned separately because in the examination, the comparative account has been asked more commonly. Once you have done individual systems of classification, you will be able to do the comparative account really well. You have to do Bentham and Hooker system, you have to do Engler and Prant system, Hutchinson system, Cronquist system, Takhtajan, APG, Botanical Garden, Herbaria. Most commonly asked systems are the first 3 systems, Bentham and Hooker, Engler and Prant, and Hutchinson. But once in a while, for comparison Cronquist system, Takhtajan system and APJ system have also been asked. So these are the 18 topics which you have to do under systematics. Then you come to the study of angiospermic families. There are in total 15 families which are dicot families, and within these 15 families, Fabaceae has to be done individually for each subfamily. So these are Caesalpinoideae, Mimosauideae and Papilionoideae. These three subfamilies have to be done. Apart from that, there are other 14 families that you have to do. So total there are 15 dicot families that you have to study and 5 monocot families that you have to study. Take a careful look. You have to study Magnoliaceae, Ranunculaceae, Brassicaceae, Rosaceae, Fabaceae with the 3 subfamilies Euphorbiaceae, Malvaceae, Dipterocarpaceae, Apiaceae, Asclepiadaceae, Verbinaceae, Solanaceae, Rubiaceae, Cucurbitaceae and Asteraceae. The 5 monocot families Poaceae, then Ericaceae, Liliaceae, Musaceae, banana family and Orchidaceae, the orchid family. These are the families that you have to do. What about the question? How many questions have been asked in the examination? And within the question paper, what has been the weightage that's been given to systematics and what's been the weightage that's been given to angiosperm families? Let's take a quick look. So here we are. Give me a moment. So here we are. So as you can see now, in the last 10 years, questions in the civil service main have been asked for 735 marks. And the orange part is angiospermic families and the blue part is systematics. So do you notice that both the parts are nearly equal? So the weightage given to both the parts is absolutely close to equal. So one part can be treated as 50.5 and other part can be called 49.5. So almost equal weightage has been given to both the areas. This chart is important. I will enlarge this chart so that you can see it rather nicely. So take a look here. Now you can see it better. So if you notice within the families part, what they have done, that description of families is more common than comparison of families. Because in this pie chart you notice that description of families is bigger, whereas comparison of families is relatively smaller, but not that small that you can ignore the comparison part at all. Also, if you notice, both the parts taken together account for approximately 50% of the questions, and the other 50% is coming from the systematics part. Within the systematics, do you notice what is the biggest part here? Within the systematics, nearly 1/3 of the questions have been asked from this particular area. And that particular area is what? Comparative account of various systems of classification. So when it comes to systems of classification, the priority of the examiners, the bias of the examiners is to ask comparative question. So compare the system given by Hutchinson and Bentham and Hooker. Compare the system given by Bentham and Hooker with that of Takhtajan. Compare the system of Hutchinson with Takhtajan. Compare the system of Bentham Hooker with Engler and Brandt. And of course, Arthur Cronquist's system has also been asked. So 1/3 of the questions within the systematics half of the angiosperm question, 1/3 of the question has been asked from the comparative account of angiospermic families. Then rest of the topics have a smaller weightage, but even with the smaller weightage, if you notice, evidences from embryology has been asked quite frequently. Then herbaria has been asked quite often. International Code of Botanical Nomenclature, and as I said, type approach is more common, and numerical taxonomy has been asked. Rest other topics, individual topics have been asked in a smaller proportion. So what is the takeaway from this discussion? The takeaway from this discussion is that every year almost 70 marks of questions are assigned to angiosperm systematics. That is the first takeaway. Let's get it straight. Almost 70 marks of question. Because 735 has been given to angiospermic systematics in civil service main in the last 10 years. That accounts to 70 plus marks every year. Second thing, that out of that 70 marks every year, 35 marks goes to angiosperm family description and approximately 35 marks goes to systematics. Within systematics, approximately 12 to 15 marks will be given to comparative account of classification system, Bentham-Hooker, Hutchinson, compare, so on. And then rest of the questions will be spread as a small little short note. Apart from that, the smaller topics of systematics, so evidences from embryology, then herbaria, numerical taxonomy, and lastly, the botanical nomenclature happen to be more important. So far as the families are concerned, so description of families are more important certainly compared to comparative account. Besides, if you are doing the description part nicely, you anyway don't have to worry about the comparison, because in the comparison they are going to ask the questions which are anyway based on the same features of description that you have studied under the isolated description of the families. So that is where your priorities should lie. So this is a bar chart. Bar chart, I am making a full screen illustration. If you want, at this point you can pause the video and you can carefully study this bar chart. On the y-axis you have got the total marks allocated in the last 10 years. So total marks highest is 250, and on the x-axis there are topics. So if you see, the highest 250 marks have been assigned to description of angiosperm families, and then 110 marks have been assigned to comparison of families. So taken together, 360 marks have been assigned to description or comparison of families, and then the other 365, 370 marks have been given to systematics part. So from this point to leftwards, you have got almost 370 marks, and these 370 marks have gone to systematics. And from here, if you go right, then here you have got approximately 360 marks, and these 360 marks have gone to families description. 20 families and 3 subfamilies of Fabaceae. So that's how the weightage have been given. Now, how to do angiosperm families? That's a question in the mind of most of the non-botany background students, and also in the mind of a lot of students who have actually done botany but have not developed a particular liking for this area. To all of you, let me tell you, this is going to be one very straight area to understand, as long as you know the terminologies associated with the description of floral characters, including inflorescence, and the terminology associated with fruit description. If you have these morphological terminologies clear in your mind, this area does not pose any comprehension related problem, any understanding related problem. The real problem is how to remember that. I will tell that in one of my later videos when I am covering the revision of botany. But for now, let's talk about the coverage part. So these are the 20 families. I had already read these 20 families. So let us see how to go about prepare this area, how to go about preparing this area. So first and foremost, get your morphology basics straight. That's the very first advice. And for that, pick up 11th, 12th level book. And I have in one of my earlier videos, I have suggested Modern Botany by Dr. M.P. Kaushik. So pick up this book, an excellent book for 11th, 12th and medical entrance. And in this book, morphology section is very well written with good drawings and good examples. So from this book, do the chapters on inflorescence, flower and fruit within morphology section. It is these 3 chapters from where you will be developing your operational glossary to understand and describe angiosperm families. Most of the students who struggle in this part of the syllabus, angiospermic families, especially those who have not done field work or practical work in the domain of angiosperm taxonomy, so they all will struggle. And one of the big substitutes to field work, if you have not done it, you have not done it. So one of the big substitutes of field work is going to be to do morphology part, inflorescence, flower and fruit morphology very, very well from such book. If you do not have modern botany, you can think of College Botany by A.C. Datta, you can think of College Botany Volume 1 by Ganguly and Carr, or you can also do Neat Botany by Wiley Publication, another highly recommended book by me. Any one of these books will be straight for your benefit. I am writing all the 3 books so that you do not feel compelled to buy a specific book. So the alternative books are Neat Botany, that is on Wiley Publication. Second is College Botany by A.C. Datta. If you have this book from your school senior secondary days, it's excellent. Or there is another book, College Botany only. The name is College Botany, but it is written by Ganguly and Carr. So name is same, College Botany. So now there are 4 books which are here: Modern Botany, Neat Botany, College Botany by A.C. Datta and College Botany by Ganguly and Carr. Any of these books if you have, you don't have to worry about the basics. The only thing you will have to do is to pick up these chapters and do it diligently, slowly, making your personal notes of terminology and trying to remember some pertinent examples. Initially you will find it a little difficult to remember the examples, but at least note down the examples. जब second time में आप पढ़ोगे, when you read it for the second time, you will be able to remember the example also. Why I am saying this? Because many of these examples you will find very helpful when you are reading the family description. So the same example will come inside the description of the family, and then you will realize the virtue of remembering the example when you were doing morphology part. So once you have done your basics very well, your job is going to be ridiculously easy. Trust me, to understand taxonomic description of families is ridiculously easy after a good command over morphology. How to memorize it is the next step. But next step here is to understand what is expected from you by the examiner in the description of an angiospermic families. The first thing when you are writing an answer, the first thing that has to go in your answer is basic introduction to the family and its distinctive characters. For example, I have given here for Euphorbiaceae 3 points I have given. The Euphorbiaceae are distinctive in having unisexual flower with superior and mostly 3 carpellate ovary with 1 ovule per carpel and apical exile in placentation. This is a distinctive character of the family Euphorbiaceae. Then at the level of subfamily you are mentioning, Crotinoideae and Euphorbioideae have red, yellow or usually white latex. And next, Euphorbiaceae, the subfamily Euphorbioideae, have characteristic Scythium type of inflorescence. Now, Scythium inflorescence you will come across when you are doing morphology. Similarly, what is a 3-carpellate ovary you will get to know when you are doing morphology. What is position of apical exile placentation you will do in morphology. Similarly, the all other floral description term that you will be encountering in further families, all of it you will be clearing in your basics study. So when you are starting the description of the family, start with the distinctive characters. So that is the first advice. Next, directly jump to the floral character. That means don't get into leaf morphology, don't get into the modifications of a stem, so on. There is no need to. Start with floral characters. If I scan the last 25 years question, I would not be able to find any question on leaf morphology, stem morphology. So why to do that? Straight away come to the floral characters. And even the question in the examination is very clear that you have to give floral description of a family. And even when they ask you to compare the two angiospermic families, they ask you to compare on the basis of floral characters. So floral characters are the thing which you have to master. Where does it start? Start from big, come to a small. What is the biggest thing with respect to flower? Inflorescence. What kind of inflorescence or what kinds of inflorescence are found in a family? That's the first thing. It's not necessary that every family will present only one type of inflorescence. There are families where you will find more than one type of inflorescence. Need to know that. Then, sex of the flower. Is the flower unisexual or is the flower bisexual? In majority of the angiosperms, the flowers are bisexual. That is, both male and female parts are present in the same flower. Then, is the flower having a stalk or not? If the flower is having a stalk, it is called pedicellate. If the flower does not have a stalk, it is called sessile. Then, what's the symmetry of the flower? It can either be actinomorphic, it can be zygomorphic, in some time asymmetrical flower. After that, what's the position of the ovary? Is the position of the ovary making the flower epigynous, hypogynous or perigynous, right? So that you have to do. After this, these are the very basics of flowers description. Then, is the flower monochlamydeous or dichlamydeous? This again is a term that you will be learning when you are doing morphology. So if the flower is monochlamydeous, it means it has got one perianth whorl, and if it is dichlamydeous, then the perianth is properly differentiated into calyx and corolla. Then is it having any special feature? So in a special feature I have mentioned like hypanthium in some of the members of Fabaceae. Then you will come to calyx. So is the calyx aposepalous or syncephalous? Is the corolla member aposepalous or sympatalous? Apopetalous or sympatalous? Does it have any adnation? Adnation basically means adhesion with some other part of the flower. And if there is connection within the same part of flower, we call it cohesion. So adnation means adhesion with other parts of flower, some kind of fusion might be found. So that adnation. Then estivation. What kind of estivation do we encounter in most of the flowers? Then stamens. Their number, their conation. Conation means are they fused with each other at the level of filament or at the level of anther or entirely? Is there any adnation? Means is it fused with other organ of the flower also that ways. Then gynoecium. What is the number of carpels? What is the position of the ovary? What are the number of locules in the ovary? How many styles? How many stigma? What kind of or what kinds of placentation, what's the number of ovary per locule, or what's the number of ovule, what's the number of the ovule per locule of the ovary, how many integument layers are there on each ovule. Mostly it is bilayered, so but once again there are variations, so it is monotegmic, unitegmic or bitegmic that you have to see. Does it have any spatial orientation or is it anatropic? Anatropous ovary is most common I'm using word ovary wrongly here. Anatropous ovule is the most common type of ovule that you encounter, but if it has orthotropous, if it has hemianatropous, if it has cercinotropous, any type other than anatropous, then you will need to take mention of that. This is how an anatropous ovule will look like. Anatropous, bitegmic. And then there will be embryo sac. Right. But then there are other types of ovules also, so get into that detail. Once you are done with that, then fruit. So you have described the floral characters, then you come to fruit. What are the type or types of fruits that you encounter in the members of this family? And finally, economic significance. But before you go to economic significance, you will be summarizing the floral character that you have just now described. So for the family, you will need to use floral formula. Floral formula gives you range that you can write. So within a square brackets, if you write 5 to infinite, that means that it is the range that you are talking about. And within parentheses means in the small bracket if you write, it means you are talking about conation. So floral formula will tell the range, it will tell the conation, it will tell adnation, it will also be depicting the position of the ovary with respect to the other floral organs, and in the beginning it will be discussing the symmetry of the flower. So here I have mentioned the floral formula of Fabaceae. So you notice that flower is actinomorphic or zygomorphic, flower is bisexual. Here we are at corolla. So calyx. So 5 members, they are free or they may be united. Since they are united, hence in the small bracket. And then this is the range that when they are united, they may be 3 to 6 also. Then calyx 5 free or 5 united. And then these are the range. Very rarely 0, 1 to 6 free or 1 to 6 united. So that is how you go one after one, including every aspect of floral description within the floral formula. Once you have done the floral formula, you are now ready to draw a floral diagram. Remember, while you can draw floral formula, write floral formula for the entire family, because formula gives you the liberty to mention the range and everything, floral diagram needs to be for a specific species only, for a particular species. So, for example, this floral diagram does not depict the entire family Liliaceae. It depicts only the species Allium cepa. That's the onion. So that is how we have to deal with the floral diagram and floral formula. Diagram for a particular species, diagram cannot be for the entire family, and formula can be for entire family. Take care of that. So where did we start? We first gave distinctive features of the family. Then we started with the floral description. Where did we start? Inflorescence. Then completeness. Then sex. Then symmetry. Then you come to spatial features, spatial structures, etc. And then one after one. Calyx, corolla, androecium, gynoecium, all of these, and then get into the details, conation, adnation, and within gynoecium you will be talking about how many carpels are there, how many stigma, how many styles, how many locules are there. in each locule how many ovules are present, what's the orientation of the ovule, what is the tegmicity of the ovule, and finally you will be mentioning the special features like nectaries and all, and last, fruits. Once you are done with that, make the floral formula properly and then put the floral diagram of one particular species. Daunting it may sound, but it needs only one time effort to prepare all these 20 families. You can do it easily in about 10 days time, but once you are done with your self notes, it will be easy to revise. Make sure that you are doing it from good sources, and in the end of this video I am going to talk about what according to me are good sources to do angiosperm taxonomy. After this, you will need to do economic importance. When you are doing economic importance, you are going to remember 5 different genera and up to 10 species. Although they mostly ask 5 economically important plants, but it will always help you if you remember 5 different genera and about 10 different species, so that you are completely safe. Especially in the Forest Service examinations, sometimes they can ask you to write up to 8 species. So 10 species is a very safe range so far as you are covering the economic importance. And last but not the least, this will also aid in the preparation of plant resource development, because nearly all the major economically important plants that you will study under plant resource development, you will come across those plants here within the taxonomy itself. So that will strengthen your understanding of plant resource development as well. So it is an effort that is well worth taking. After doing this, you will be coming to the systematics part. That's the systematic syllabus. There are certain topics which need to be done in some detail. I will be explaining. In basics of taxonomy, what you are going to do is that you are going to do the terms taxonomy and systematics, then steps of taxonomy, then alpha, beta and omega taxonomy, natural, phylogenetic, and the oldest approach was artificial classifications. That's what you need to do. After this, these are all potential questions in the examination. After this, you should just be doing a comparison between taxonomy and systematics. It's been asked already, so there is every chance that it might be asked another time. Going back, next is taxonomic hierarchy. Taxonomic hierarchy has not been asked many a times, but in taxonomic hierarchy, what you basically do is define and describe the terms domain, kingdom, and do not go into sub-kingdom type of thing. Domain, kingdom, phylum, class, order, families. It shouldn't be families, it should be only family, genus and species. Define each one and describe each one in approximately 80 to 100 words. That's the first task. The second task is Myers subspecies concept we have to do. Third, in the botanical context, learn the description of terms like subspecies and race. Once you have done all of this, I think you are sorted. Next topic is International Code for Botanical Nomenclature. In International Code for Botanical Nomenclature, ICBN, principles of botanical nomenclature, that's the first thing you should do. Second, main rules under the latest code, that's what we have to do. And finally, type approach. Type approach is a commonly asked question, so I'm star marking it. This is where you do different specimen types and their significance, their application in taxonomic nomenclatural exercise. Numerical taxonomy is a fairly straight topic. There are just two things that you have to do: what and how, and merit and demerits of numerical taxonomy. What is numerical taxonomy? How numerical taxonomic operations are carried out. That is where you will be learning about OTU, data analysis and all. And finally, what are the merits and demerits of numerical taxonomy compared to other approaches of taxonomy. That's one. And second, you should be ready for a short note on OTUs. So second is OTUs, because OTUs are the heart and soul of this topic, so it is only logical that it can be asked to you. Besides, do chemotaxonomy. So far, straight questions have been asked on chemotaxonomy, so just do one short note. Again, what is chemotaxonomy? What are the biomolecules which are significant for chemotaxonomic exercise? How do we conduct a chemotaxonomic exercise? And finally, what are the relative merits and demerits of chemotaxonomic exercise? There is no inside the topic question which has been framed in the last 20 years even. So only a broader short note will suffice. Evidences from anatomy, evidences from embryology, and evidences from palynology. These evidences should be done well. It is fairly straight. You have to remember the examples, you have to remember the categories of evidences. That in anatomy, do we have epidermal evidences of any significance, trichomes, etc.? Answer is yes. Then what are the other anatomical features that we know? Stomata, their relation with the subsidiary cell? Answer is yes. So that is another. But none of these will be complete without giving the proper example. So the category of taxonomic evidence, number one, and number two, you will have to give the proper description with the example. Same goes for embryology, that what was done in case of Trapezie, what was done in case of Monotropa, what was done in case of many other taxa. Similarly, what are the palynological data which are of taxonomic significance? What is Eurypallinus family? What is Astenophallinus family? How pollenexine sculpturing has a taxonomic value? What are the other pollen characters which are of taxonomic value? All of this with proper example needs to be prepared. Each one, if you prepare in approximately 200 words, I would say you have done a very good job. Origin and evolution of angiosperms should be prepared as a general short note. Earlier there was a tendency to ask question from inside the topic, give an account of this theory, give an account of that theory, but now that trend has been discarded. So it will be nice if you just prepare a gist of all the major theories and finally give some extra weightage to the presently accepted theory and why it is the presently accepted theory. Then 10th topic you do not have to do separately. 10th topic is a natural outcome of what you do with from topic number 11 to topic number 16. So these are the classification systems that you have to know. What are the things that you need to know in a classification system? First and foremost, you have to do its history. That means who gave this classification system, when was this classification system published, in which book or as what title was it published. History is expected by the examiner. You have to remember it. Number one. Number two, the outline of principle. That means that whenever you are classifying a group of organisms, of course you are classifying on the basis of certain criteria. So for Bentham and Hooker, what were the criteria? For Hutchinson, what were the criteria? So that is the principles on the basis of which they classify the families into superior ranks. Then outline of the scheme of classification, that how did they organize the families in superior levels, like in different orders, how did they organize, so on. And then merits and demerits. And apart from merits and demerits, be especially on the lookout for what? Be especially on the lookout for any unique aspect of that classification system. So for example, when they asked that what is the position of monochords under the APG system, so there must be something special how APG system has treated the monochords. So you have to keep looking for these unique aspects, because they may form basis of a short note, they may form basis of a comparison based question. So it will be a worthwhile idea. So these are the 5 aspects: history, outline of the principles, outline of the scheme of classification, merits, demerits, and then unique aspect. That will be all you are supposed to do. What all systems that you have to do? Bentham and Hooker, Engler and Pran, Hutchinson, Cronquist, Takhtajan, Angiosperm Phylogeny Group, APG. These are the systems. Once you have done them under these headings, you will be easily prepared for writing any answer under the comparison. And you have noticed that comparison accounts for 1/3 of the question that has been asked under systematics, so it is well worth doing. Short note on botanical garden, but within this there are 2 special questions that you have to be prepared for. One is Royal Botanical Garden, Kew in England, and second Shibpur Botanical Garden in India, India's largest and the richest botanical garden it is. The last topic here is herbaria. Herbaria is a rather small topic, and all that you have to do here is what are herbaria, how do we prepare, what is the reason why we prepare, what's the taxonomic value, and then what are the 5 big significant herbaria in India and in the world. And that will be all. And with this preparation, you will be ready to handle any and every question of systematics. Finally, what should you read for taxonomy? So here are my recommendations. I have kept it simple. If you have done your basics from MP Kaushik or Wiley's Neat Botany, then the only book that you need is Plant Systematics by Gurucharan Singh. A single book that covers every single topic, including every single dimension that I have discussed in this video. So do your basics from MP Kaushik, Wiley's Neat Botany, or College Botany by A.C. Datta, or College Botany by Ganguly and Carr, and then straight away come to a proper book on systematics. Among the books written on systematics by Indian authors, Gurucharan Singh's book is fairly modern and it covers almost all aspects. So I would say you can do it entirely from Gurucharan Singh. And if you wish to rely on study material, evolution's study material are always there. So on that note, goodbye and good luck to all of you.